Avenue. 7 or 8 meters. Now, all these monuments we see today, these monuments were carved starting from the top of the rock all the way down, never from the bottom to the top. Why is that? Why do you think these people carved these monuments starting from the top, never from the bottom? They did scaffolding. They fixed wooden bridges on top and they go slowly down. This monument behind me, it took from them almost 20 years to carve it. 800,000 cubic meters of sand came out of this rock. And it's right here where we are standing now. The sand is right here where we are standing now. So why they carve these monuments starting from the top? Because if you start from the bottom and you are going higher up, you are digging, right? You are carving. The sand and the rocks will be falling down. A, you're gonna hurt yourself. B, you're gonna destroy what you carved down there. Men, women, children, they all go carving. It was in their religion. You must carve. You must carve your house. You must carve your tomb. Now, what is this? If you Google it, what was the treasury in Petra? You will find many answers. If you hear 3-4 tour guides next to each other, you will hear 3-4 different stories. One story says this was a temple because you are looking at different gods and goddesses representing different cultures. Another story says this was a government institution for the Nabateans, where they kept their documents and their treasures. The third story says it was a tomb belonged to the very famous Nabatean king Arytas IV, the man who ruled Petra 1st century AD. The fifth story says it was a library. Ayman says it was all what I just told you, probably in different periods. Now these people, they used very primitive tools, very primitive. They had metal tools, chisels, hammers, but also they used the limestone against the sandstone. Now look at this one. No mistakes. Using very primitive tools. Now look what they did. Do you think nowadays, are we able to do such a monument? Are we able to do such a thing? I don't think so. It tells you these people, the Nabateans, they were artists. They knew how to start carving and how to end carving. If you go closer to the treasury, you're gonna see a metal mesh. Below the metal mesh, if you go there, you're gonna see 3 tombs. So there were first 3 tombs, and then they decided to carve the treasury afterwards. Now, have you noticed the third column at the lower part, starting from the left side of the treasury, is not original? The third column at the lower part, starting from the left side of the treasury, is not original. Right in the middle, we see breaks. You see them? You see them, guys? These are clear rules by the UNESCO. You cannot make it identical. If you want to fix it, you can't make it identical to others. It must be recognized. Once you see it, you go, this is not original. So the third column you see on the at the lower part, starting from the left side, is not original. It was on the ground. I said the first man who mentioned the city, his name is Hurkam. Petra was here, but he came to Petra 1812, and he went back to Europe talking about Petra. So Petra was here. They keep saying he found Petra. No, he didn't find Petra. He got the credit. Petra was here, but he went out talking about the site. And you saw the paintings. Remember the guy selling the paintings? The first man who did these paintings, his name is David Johann Roberts. The first paintings were painted in 1839. Now, can we see, look at the treasury now? can we see 4 eagles? 2 of them on top on the right side and 2 of them on top on the left side. They are not in a very good shape, but if you focus, you see 4 big birds, 4 eagles. This is the Assyrian influence. If you are Assyrian, you heard about the Assyrians. The Assyrian culture, 3000 BC old culture, located between Iraq and Syria. If you are Assyrian walking in, you will notice the eagles. It's a welcome sign for the Assyrians. Now, between the 2 columns on top on the right side and between the 2 columns on top on the left side, we see Tyche and Nike, the Amazonian warriors. They are holding a sword and they are dancing, Roman goddesses. Now between the 2 columns, also on top, right in the middle, we see the Egyptian goddess Isis. Now below the first column on top on the right side and below the first column on top on the left side, if you focus, we see 2 carved animals, 2 carved lions. It's because of Babylonia. The Babylonians, they used to have these giant lions in front of their tombs. So if you are coming from Babel or Babylonia, you will notice the lions, a welcome sign for them as well. Now we see a man riding the horse at the lower part to the right, another man riding the horse to the left. These are Castro and Pollux. Castro and Pollux. One is taking the soul to heaven, the other one taking it to hell, the good side and the bad side. Can we see kind of footprints on both sides, on the right side and on the left side? I said the fixed wooden bridges, scaffolding. They did scaffolding, starting from the top all the way down. Look at these columns, guys. Look at the capitals of these columns. Corinthian columns, very well preserved. The treasury in Petra is the only monument still in a very good shape. All other monuments we're going to see inside pretty much damaged by nature, by the rain or by the wind and earthquakes. So why this one still in a very good shape? Because look at this, we are surrounded by rocks, so the treasury pretty much is not affected by the wind or by the rain. Oh, the Nabateans. Who are the Nabateans? I said again, if you want the history of the Nabateans, again the Old Testament. Remember, let's go from the very beginning. Terah and his 3 sons, Abraham, Haran, Nashur. Abraham, 2 sons, Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac, 2 sons, Esau and Jacob. Ishmael, 12 sons. The oldest son of Ishmael is named mentioned as Nabayot. Nabayot, son of Ishmael, the founder of the Nabatean tribe, lived in Faran desert, which is Saudi Arabia nowadays. Saudi Arabia mentioned in the Old Testament as Faran desert. Nowadays it's Saudi Arabia.
cities were built in Jordan. 5 out of 10 were built in Jordan. Philadelphia, which is Amman nowadays. Jerash, we are here in Jerash. Bela, Arabella, and Gadara. So 5 Greek cities were built in Jordan. The rest 5. Beit Shan in Israel, Alexandria in Egypt, Kanatha in Egypt, Damascus in Syria, and Bosra in Syria. These 10 cities, they have the same language, but politically every single city was independent. Today you are visiting the biggest one, Jerash, because Jerash right in the middle. What does it mean right in the middle? It means if you are coming from Damascus and you want to go to Petra, you need to stop by Jerash. If you are coming from Baghdad, heading to Beit Shan in Israel, you need to stop by this city. So this was the largest Greek Roman city out of Rome. The Greek period, remember we said we call it the Hellenic period, the Hellenistic period. People, they loved it. People in the Middle East, they loved the Greek culture because the Greeks, they teach people their culture and it was accepted by Middle Eastern people. They loved it. But the Greek period was poor period. Remember, these cities, they were poor. The Greek period ended 1st century BC by the Romans. Pompey arrived. The Romans, once they arrived in the Middle East, they knocked down these 10 Greek cities. They knocked them down and they rebuilt them again. It means today we are visiting a Roman city built on top of Greek ruins. The Roman period was very powerful, lasted almost 500 years. They reached the Far East, Europe, Africa. So the Romans arrived and this city became Roman. All these Greek cities became Roman cities. They kept the same names, but they became Roman cities. The Roman period, I said, was very rich period. Remember, the Romans, they decided to conquer all kingdoms in the Middle East. Tadmurta kingdom in Syria ended by the Romans. The Nabatean kingdom in Jordan ended by the Romans. So the Roman period was very powerful. The Romans started to collect taxes because they started to control the trade roads, the Silk Road, the Spice Road, the Frankincense Road, and the Kingsway. The Kingsway was the transit trade road towards Europe and towards Africa. They started to control all ports in the Middle East, so they became wealthy. But people weren't happy. People, they weren't happy. The Romans, they forced people. No more Hellenic culture. This is the Roman time, and it wasn't accepted. The Roman period, ladies and gentlemen, lasted, I said, almost 500 years. The Roman period ended 4th century AD. Christianity was born. The Romans, they stopped being Romans. They knocked down their temples and they took rocks out of the temples to build churches. And that's why all temples, all Roman temples all over the world, they are not in a very good shape because of 2 reasons. The first reason, earthquakes. The second reason, the Romans themselves, they stopped believing in all these Roman gods and goddesses. They became Christians, so they built churches. So these cities, the 10 Greek Roman cities, they became one part of the Byzantine kingdom. And I said Istanbul was the capital city of the Byzantine kingdom. Now, look at this gate behind me. Remember, I said this city has 2 gates, the south gate and the north gate. The southern gate, we call it Philadelphia Gate. Why we call it Philadelphia Gate? Why we call the south gate by Philadelphia Gate? We just came from Philadelphia. Remember, Amman was Philadelphia. So the gate is facing Philadelphia. And the northern gate, we call it Damascus Gate. You're gonna see the northern gate. It faces Damascus. But this gate behind me is not Philadelphia Gate. This gate, we call it Hadrian's Gate. Hadrian, the very famous Roman emperor. This man, he used to visit all Roman cities all over the world. People, they knew, Hadrian is coming, he will come to visit Jerash. So they built the gate only to honor Hadrian. Have you been to England? If you're to England, you will see the Hadrian's Wall. So Hadrian, he was the main Roman emperor, 2nd century AD. This gate was built 129 AD. So Hadrian arrived and they wanted to honor him. So he walked through this gate with his people. Now, we look at these Corinthian columns in a very good shape, very well preserved. Can we see the 2 square windows or niches on top? In each one of them, there was a statue, 2 statues. One statue representing Jupiter, the main Roman god, Jupiter. The Greeks, they called him Zeus, while the Romans, they called him by Jupiter. And there was another statue representing goddess of love, goddess of hunt, Diana. The Romans, they called her by Diana, while the Greeks, they called her by Artemis or Artemida. The main entry right in the middle, 29 meters high, 8 meters wide. Maybe you will notice the Egyptian influence as you can see the top. Look at this. We see it looks like kind of a spike. This is the Egyptian influence. The Romans, they cooperated with the Egyptians. They used to import marble from a city called Aswan in Egypt to decorate temples from inside. So the Romans, they had great relationship with the Egyptians. Let's go inside.